eye got buckus. Nothing. And I even said, you look beautiful with a black eye. Oh, yes, I see where I stand.
You know, I'll bring everyone flowers next time.
Yeah, we've heard that before.
I have never said that before. I'll bring everyone one carnation.
Lacey, we ready?
I think so. I'm just double checking that
It's on.
I can hear that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's not recording?
all right. It is 5:30, so we are going to call the August 2nd, 2023 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order. Ms. Blankenhorn, please call the roll.
Ms. Boucher?
Here.
Ms. Cunningham?
Here.
Mr. Percy?
Here.
Mrs. Simpson?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mrs. Arianata?
Here.
Mr. Eister? We have a quorum.
All right. With that, the meeting is called to order. First item of business before us is approval of the June 21st, 2023 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. Is there a motion regarding approval of the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That the June 21, 2023 Board of Zoning Appeals minutes are approved as presented. We do have one, we're going to change the order. Hopefully nobody gets mad at us, but we're going to switch case 17 above case 15 because our alternate member is only going to be here for 2 cases. So rather than make her sit through a case she doesn't, we're going to do 14, then 17, then 15, 18, 19. So we're going to proceed that way, just so that everyone's clear, and hopefully nobody objects. All right. So the first case before us is 2023-BZA-14, White Airs Street for a variance for accessory structure. Is there a proponent of the proposed variance request before us? Just come up one at a time, be sworn in. There's a card there. I need you to read the card and raise your right hand and read the card.
My name is Julius Schwartz. My address is 712 East High Street. It's a different property we're here for.
That's
I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under penalty of perjury.
all right, Mr. Schwartz. What are we trying to achieve today?
All right, so what we're trying to do is we had purchased this property on White Airs back in May, and we are attempting to put on some fencing and a shed on the property that we can use that property for a run for our dogs, private dog park, so to speak.
Okay, and it looks like there would be a minimum of 30 feet setback from the street.
Yes.
Ms. Blankenhorn, regarding so we would need to approve both the outbuilding and the fence, is that correct?
Correct.
So how would the fence work if it's 30 feet back? It's still subject to the setback or to the height requirements, or is it not?
Once it gets to the 30 feet back, it can be up to 6 feet tall.
Okay, so there's nothing, so do we even need to approve anything related to that?
Not for the height.
Okay. So we don't need to even worry about the fence. All we're really worried about is the building, is that correct?
Well, it's a variance to construct both because there's not a primary dwelling there
Okay.
to have accessories to it.
Okay. So, I don't even know how the code looks at that.
Well, they're all considered accessory structures, accessory to a primary dwelling, and there is not a primary dwelling, so he's looking for a variance to that.
And we have done that before because we did that on Howard Street with the garage. Okay.
/ gonna be house.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to clarify. I just wanted to get a ducks in order. So all we're really doing, we're approving a variance to add an accessory structure and a fence to a property without a primary
accessory.
structure.
Well,
Is
they're
that-
both considered, as Lacey said, they're both accessory structures.
Okay.
So the variance is to construct 2 accessory structures, one of them a fence and one of them a small utility building.
Okay. All right, well, then now we know what we're trying to do, so it makes it a little easier. Okay, so you purchased this property basically for a dog run to put, and then you want to put a shed for maintenance equipment and the fence so that the dogs don't go running away. Is that correct? All right. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Schwartz?
Okay.
Are there any other proponents of the proposed variance request that would like to speak? Are there any opponents of the proposed variance request that would like to speak? Mr. Hillier, come on. Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. You may be seated. If we have additional questions, we'll call you back up. Mr. Hillier, come on up.
Okay.
You know
My name is Mike Hillier. My address is 215 East Sugar Street. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under the penalty of perjury. I also am chair of planning and zoning for city council. I did drive out, saw the property. This may just a thought you would have because of what we're trying to do. When I see private dog park, when's it become a public dog park? That would be the, and who would watch and make sure that doesn't, I'm not saying that's what they're gonna do, but I'm just saying, first it's my dog and then it's 10 of my
But we're not
friends'
being
dogs.
asked for a variance for a dog park. We're being asked for 2 accessory structures.
I understand that without a house on it.
Yeah.
So I would like you to think about that
Uh-huh.
as you're voting, like I said, I'm not saying that's what they're planning on doing,
Mhm.
but first it's my 2 dogs, then it's my 10 friends' dogs. And it is a residential area.
I
Thank you.
understand. Thank you.
No.
Does anyone have is there any other opponents of the proposed variance request before us? Is there any written or verbal communication regarding the proposed variance request before us?
Yes. I have one public comment that was called in and left as a voicemail, and then the staff report.
Uh-huh.
So the public comment, this was transcribed from a voicemail left by Tracy Ryan of 210 Whitehair Street. She called to say that she reviewed the request online. She is not too happy about this request. Homework should have been done before the purchase to know it was zoned residential. Of more concern is that Mr. Schwartz mentioned to her husband that the plan is for a private paid dog park. Doesn't that elevate it to a business? They could say it's going to be quiet, no noise, and not much traffic, but she has concerns. As far as a hardship mowing it, they live right around the corner on High Street where they could drive a lawnmower over to mow. She has reservations. She saw a copy of the fence they are proposing and she thinks it is an eyesore. She is totally against the request. She wants to live in a zoning district where people aren't just erecting structures out of thin air. And then the staff report, July 12th, 2023, case 2023 BZA 14 for 0 Whitehair Street and 0 Union Street, parcels number 66-0477.000 and 66-04771.000. Julius and Sherry Schwartz have requested to construct a 6 feet tall fence to enclose 2 otherwise undeveloped parcels they recently purchased along Whitehair Street for a private dog park. They would also like to place a shed up to 12 feet by 24 feet on the same property inside the proposed fence. Fence and sheds are considered accessory structures by the zoning code. There is currently no principal use or building on either lot to be accessory to. The 2 subject parcels are platted with an alley separating each other. There is a sanitary sewer line running north to south on the west side of both parcels. There aren't any utilities in the platted alley. There is a sanitary sewer line running east to west on the south side of the southern subject parcel in the platted yet undeveloped Union Street. Mr. and Mrs. Schwartz met with the city's Safety Service Director Rick Zick, Engineer Brian Ball, and Development Services Manager Lacey Blankenhorn to discuss their request and review the details of the city's utilities and rights of way affecting the parcels. A detailed drawing was then put together by a city engineering technician to show the rights of way, utilities, setbacks, and desired location of the fence and shed. Gates are planned to span the undeveloped alley on each side of the property to allow city crews access when necessary. This is similar to allowing property owners to construct fence across an easement utilizing a gate or removable panels for access to the easement and utility when necessary. After thorough discussions, the city employees that met with the Schwartzes are supportive of the request. It was explained to the Schwartzes that they would need to request a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals because there is not a primary use or structure on the property that would allow the Safety Service Director to approve a zoning permit for an accessory structure.
All right, that's all?
Yep.
All right, is there a motion from,
Michael,
oh, yes?
can I come up?
Yep, come on back up, Mike.
I know you won't let me do that if you have a motion on the floor.
What?
I say, I know you won't let me have to have a motion on the floor.
Correct.
I heard, private pay park.
Uh-huh.
Maybe Mr. Schwartz like elaborate on that. It is zone residential, correct?
Mhm.
So that could possibly be a business if it's somebody's paying to do it?
That was what was left on the voicemail from a neighbor.
Right, so I thought maybe we should have some input on that as well. I guess I was thinking it was
Uh-huh.
maybe there are a couple dogs. But maybe if you'd like to come up and elaborate, thank you.
Mr. Byrne, how is that, I mean,
Well, begin with, it is zoned R1.
uh-huh.
And so in R1, you only have certain various home-based businesses that can be allowed. And they are specifically enumerated within the code. A private animal shelter, dog run is not one of the enumerated businesses for a home-based business in an R1. And so if they would choose to use that for that, it would in fact be a violation of the zoning code.
Okay. Okay.
So could we have him come back up?
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
was gonna get there, Mike.
Thank
Thank you. Mr. Schwartz, would you come on?
Certainly.
Wait till you're at the microphone to speak. I will.
Your concerns.
Thank you.
I will remind you you're under oath. So, I mean, again, so what we're approving is the fence and the building. If we so do that, we would not be approving any business use or any conditional use of the property.
We understand that. Our primary goal was to have a private dog run for our own dogs. We have
Okay.
a very special breed of dogs. They're called Tigans. And our thought was in the future, if it actually worked out well, we could pursue that avenue as well. But I understand there would be a process in that, and that's not our primary intention. Our primary intention is for our own fur babies to be able to have a place that they can run around. At some point in the future, we may pursue that avenue, getting a zoning change or whatnot, but that right now is, I would like to say baby steps. We want to do things the right way, and we want to keep our neighbors happy as well, so that's the kind of people that we are.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. I appreciate that additional input. All right. I would entertain a motion regarding the proposed variance request.
I move that we accept it as presented.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Additional discussion amongst the board? Comments? All right. I'll remind you that Ms. Cunningham is recused on this case. So, Ms. Blankenhorn, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Boucher,
No.
Mr. Percy,
Yes.
Mrs. Simpson,
No.
Mr. Smith,
No.
Mrs. Arianata.
Yes.
So we have a 2 yes, 3 no. The motion fails.
All right. All right. All right. So that case is denied as submitted. Next case that we're going to be doing is 2023 BZA-17. I'll turn that over to Ms. Boucher for handling that case, 2023 BZA-17.
Okay.
Do you want the...
I have it on my.
Yep.
I have it on my phone. Okay, we're calling 2023 BZA 17. It's the 301 303 North Norton Street. Is there any proponents of the proposed case before us? And if you can read the card and be sworn in, please.
Hello, my name is Sam Filkins. My address is 931 East High Street. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under penalty of perjury. Hi. So this is 2 lots that were recently, they were zoned R1. They were recently rezoned planned community development. We intend to do 2 4-unit residential structures for affordable senior housing on these lots, with the Area Agency on Aging will be building them and maintaining them and operating them. And those folks, the seniors that live in there, these will be age-in-place housing pieces. We think this is a great fit for this particular lot because it's a bridge property between the residential neighborhood to the north and the industrial property of the former Siemens plant, now called Heartland Commerce Park, to the south. It also adds, by having it be managed by the area agency, we know that all the exterior maintenance and all that will be handled and maintained. It will also be an addition to the neighborhood, positive addition to the neighborhood. And we know with the housing shortage that we have, we need more senior housing. And I know that there are senior housing being built at Ohio Eastern Star. We're very excited about that. And the new Danbury facility, that's great too. But those aren't necessarily affordable for everybody and would force some folks to move out of their neighborhood. So this would be a neighborhood-focused option for seniors that want to live there. So today we're asking for a conditional use. Residential is a conditional use within the this zoning district. So we're just asking to be allowed to put residential on the space, particularly in this case, multifamily residential. What questions can I answer?
Anybody have any questions?
How big are these units going to be? Did you say that and I missed it?
There'll be 1 bedroom, 1 bath units. I don't know an exact square footage.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It's a fair question. Just don't know the answer. And then there'll be a shared, as you can see there's a shared parking lot coming off of Burgess Street, as opposed to the entrances. Both those addresses were on Norton Street, so the addresses will be changing too.
Is there any other proponents of the proposed?
Mike. Did you see Mike?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, Mike.
In the drawing I found down here, 8 units at 813 square feet each.
Thank you, Lacey.
You're welcome.
Yes, I know, I'm still sworn in.
No, you actually, new case,
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah,
be
it's a
sworn
new
in
case.
again.
Please swear in.
Something new every day. My name is Mike Hilliard. I still live at 215 East Sugar. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, under penalty of perjury. Parts of this has come before council, and council has spoke favorably about this. Personally, I think I think the term's infill, where we're not doing this out on the edge of Mount Vernon, bringing property into Mount Vernon to do it. We're actually getting rid of some pretty ugly property. And it's definitely an improvement to the neighborhood. I hope we continue. I know there's another property on the corner. I think this is a good start. It definitely will help the area. So maybe some landlords look at this and say, well, I can clean mine up now. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other proponents of the proposed to this case? Okay. Any opponents to the case? Okay. Any written or verbal communication regarding?
I have the staff report. July 31st, 2023, case 2023 BZA 17 for 301 to 303 North Norton Street, parcels numbers 66-05329.000 and 66-02335.000. The Knox County Land Reutilization Corporation requests a conditional use permit for residential in a planned commercial development district, otherwise known as a PCDD. Residential as determined compatible with other uses in the area is a listed conditional use in a PCDD. The property was formerly zoned R1 and is flanked by R1 properties to the north, east, and west, and a PCDD zoned property to the south that was formerly zoned M1. The property was rezoned to PCDD to match the adjacent property to the south, also owned by the land bank, with the intention to construct senior living without spot zoning. A comprehensive development plan for these properties was presented to the Municipal Planning Commission as part of the requirements of the PCDD regulations. The plan was recommended for approval to City Council and is now positioned for review by City Council. Single-story housing is limited in the area. The plan to construct 8 one-level dwelling units in 2 structures for senior housing on the 2 narrow but deep adjoining parcels is an ideal use for the limited available yard area. The White House in the pictures below is located on the 303 North Norton Street parcel and will be raised soon. That's all I have.
Okay.
I would just note that conditional uses are covered under codified ordinances 1155-22 through 27 or 28, and so those are the specifically the standards are in 1155 24, I believe.
24.
Yeah, 24. So those are the general standards that are required to be met.
Can I get a motion?
I move to accept as proposed. Is that right?
Yeah.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion among the board? Okay, Lacey?
Ms. Boucher,
Yes.
Ms. Cunningham,
Yes.
Mrs. Simpson,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Arianata.
Yes.
Motion passes all in favor.
All right. All right. Thank you, Ms. Boucher, for assisting us with that case. All right.
Michael, would you like to make an announcement that people don't have to stay after their case
Yeah.
if they
Once your
don't
case
want
is completed, you are excused.
All
All right. Thank you, Ms. Arianata,
Thank you, Kate.
for your service.
Boy, we know how to chase them away.
No, it's just my sunglasses. That's how thick they are.
Sure, so. All right. Next case before us, 2023-BZA-15-208 Miller Avenue, variance for accessory structure size. Is there a proponent of the proposed variance request before us? Come on up and be sworn in.
My name is Ryan Holmes. My address is 208 Miller Avenue. I affirm my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God or under the penalty of perjury.
What are we trying to achieve? Looks like you're trying to add in a structure that exceeds the development standards. Is that what I would say, Ms. Blankenhorn?
Yes.
Okay, because you have,
Exceeds the 35% provision.
because it also has 1160.01 on there, and I don't think that should be there, should it? Conditional permitted and conditional uses are one. That's fine.
Oh, that's an orange tree.
It's just showing that
No, you're fine.
accessory structures are permitted.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to give you all the code sections.
Okay. Confused me. Sorry.
I did that so long ago, I forgot what I wrote.
What are we? What are you trying to do? Just kind of give us a ballpark.
I'd just like to have a nice garage.
All right.
I've lived there several years and raised my family in that neighborhood. My wife and I bought that as our first home. Initially, we had planned on moving outside the city to facilitate our lifestyle a little bit better. I'm kind of a gearhead, I have several vehicles. I'm aware my small lot looks not aesthetic. I would like to improve that. I'd like to get my property inside. I'd like to clean it up. Plus, I like working on my own vehicles. I'm a mechanic by trade. I have no intention on a commercial use for this building. I just want a place I can tinker on my own stuff, work on my own cars, get stuff out of the way, out of the weather. Basically it.
Okay.
As I understand, the zoning states a accessory structure of that size isn't allowed, but as I understand, if I were to attach it to the house, it would fall under the zone. It would be allowed. I just can't think of a good way to attach that type of structure to my house that didn't look like an eyesore. So I'd hate to bring down the property value or that of my neighbors. I talked to my neighbors immediately around me that I couldn't get a hold of, and to the south and north of me and across the street, they've agreed that they're okay with it. Any questions?
What's the actual dimensions of the house? I don't know what the
The
square.
house is, I believe, 24 by 38. It's 912 square foot.
Oh, I saw that. Maybe I didn't. Okay, there it is.
I think it was
Okay.
in the staff report.
Yeah, I can't read. Okay, so the house is 912, and you're asking for a structure that's how big?
1,200 square foot.
1,200 square feet. So you're asking for an accessory building that exceeds the. So the code is 35% of the dwelling.
Currently,
So-
yes.
Okay.
What is the height of the garage that you want to build?
I'm planning on 12 foot to the wall, so probably another 3 or 4 foot to the peak.
Code is
18.
What's the height of the house?
So it's just the overall that the size is exceeding it.
Weeks.
Will the garage be higher, taller, or shorter, lower than that?
I have to build grade
Mhm.
to
Okay.
bring up the. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly where the grade of the structure will be. Plus, the house is already kind of above grade.
Mhm.
I have a couple courses of block in my
Mhm.
basement that the house sits on.
Mhm.
It's a 8-foot interior wall with a typical 4-foot pitch roof.
Okay. I was just kind of curious.
And that's why I chose 12 foot, because honestly, if it was my choice, I'd just put a whole, just enclose the entire thing with a 20-foot structure. But I understand that I have neighbors in the city who would not appreciate that, and I probably wouldn't appreciate it when my neighbors did it also. So
Okay.
I thought I asked for a reasonable request.
Okay. All right. Are there any other proponents of the proposed variance request? Are there any opponents of the proposed variance request? All right. Thank you, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you. Let's see. Swear in.
Yep. Do you still live at 215 East?
My name's still Mike Hilliard, too. I still live at 215 East Sugar. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under penalty of perjury. Just some questions that you may ask, but I want to make sure that we're asked. I drove by the house yesterday, and there's like a shed and like a temporary plastic type. With, I can't ask you that. Ask them. Right? Ask you direct. Are those going to be removed? And if they are, I mean, that would definitely be an improvement. I did see where he had automobiles in here that his intentions were to park those in. So that definitely would be an improvement as well. There is a 6-foot high fence to the backyard, so that would block some of this from the neighbors. I know he's asking for a lot here. I would just ask that if this is not approved before you vote, maybe you could come to a compromise. Because I definitely think it'd be an improvement to his backyard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hilliard. And I would say that when we approve if we approve a variance request, the total square footage, the exception isn't going to allow you to have the other structures, right? Wouldn't that? Because if we're only approving X number of square feet, that's the total exterior or accessory structure square footage allowed.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
It looks at the individual structure, and there's nothing that requires them to remove it unless that's part of your conditions.
Okay. Mr. Holmes, would you come back up? Is your intent to continue to keep those other two structures, or?
I was hoping to keep the wooden shed. It's built on a concrete
Okay.
foundation.
What's the square footage of that building?
I believe it's 10 by 14.
What about the other structure that?
Honestly, I just threw that up to get some stuff out of the way temporarily. It's been a long process for me. I initially applied for my permit last summer to build that structure. When I bought the house, I'd called the city engineer's office, explained the situation, like, oh yeah, no problem, you can do it. Cool. So I finally got the money together to do it. I went to the engineer's office to apply for a permit. They're like, nah, you can't do that. Oh, okay, great. So I thought I was going to have to tear off my back deck from the house. There's a lower and an upper deck attached to the rear of the house. I was informed that attaching the garage to the house, I'd be allowed to have my garage. So I bought that to clear off the back porch and store stuff in the interim. So I'm planning on getting rid of that as soon as I can get something permanent up. That's just a temporary structure. I think it looks like hell. I don't even like it. It's just ends to our means to an end.
Okay.
And I am willing to compromise if that's what the board would like.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other proponents and any other opponents? Ms. Blankenhorn, any written or verbal communication?
I have one public comment and the staff report.
Okay.
So the public comment, I received a voicemail from Robert Norris, who lives at 206 Miller Avenue, the next door neighbor. He called to say that he spoke with Mr. Holmes about his proposal and that he is okay with the proposed garage. And the staff report dated July 12th, 2023 for case number 2023 BZA 15, 208 Miller Avenue, parcel number 66-05127.000. Ryan Holmes requests to construct a 30 feet by 40 feet accessory structure for storage of his multiple motorized vehicles and yard maintenance equipment on his property at 208 Miller Avenue. There is currently no enclosed parking on the property. The proposed siding meets the required 5 feet side and rear setbacks as well as the 35% lot coverage ratio. While the lot meets minimum square footage requirements at 8,712 square feet, the primary structure does not meet current code square footage requirements at 912 square feet. Current code requires a single-family dwelling to be a minimum of 1,200 square feet plus one enclosed parking space. Other properties in the neighborhood have sizable detached accessory structures, including 200 Miller Avenue with a 912 square foot home and a 24 by 48 accessory structure with an additional 18 feet by 22 feet accessory structure on the same lot, marked in the right image in the yellow box below. Recent variance approvals for detached accessory structures range from 24 feet by 26 feet up to 30 feet by 36 feet for private storage needs.
Thank you. All right. I would entertain a motion regarding the proposed variance request.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion amongst the board? I would say that I would like the temporary I would like to add that the temporary structure be removed as part of the. Can I do that? Can I make an amendment to that? And we got to add that to the. Got a motion and a second. That right?
Yes.
Motion and a second to have the temporary plastic structure removed as part of the variance request.
So,
Is there a motion regarding that?
I'll motion.
I'll second it.
All right, we motion and a second. Do we need to vote on that separately or?
yes.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion about the amendment that has been proposed? Please call the roll for the
We're voting just on the amendment to
Yes.
add that to the.
Okay.
Can I ask real quick who seconded the first motion to approve?
She made it, she seconded.
No, the
She
first
First
motion I
motion.
made.
Oh, made,
She
okay.
seconded.
Second,
Yes.
okay, thank
So
you.
just reverse of the amendment.
Yeah.
All right. And so we're voting to amend the motion to
Uh-huh.
add removing the temporary
Temporary
structure.
structure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Ms. Boucher,
Yes.
Ms. Cunningham,
Yes.
Mr. Percy,
Yes.
Mrs. Simpson,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
All right, okay. That the amendment to the original motion is
So-
approved.
Mm-hmm.
So
So-
now, any further discussion regarding the variance request?
For the motion as amended.
Motion as amended, thank you, Mr. Burke. All right, Ms. Blankenhorn, call the roll, please.
So we're voting to approve the proposed structure so long as the temporary structure is removed.
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Boucher,
Yes.
Ms. Cunningham,
Yes.
Mr. Percy,
Yes.
Mrs. Simpson,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
All right, with that, BZA case 2023, BZA 15 is approved with the amendment. And, all right, next case before us. 2023 BZA 18, 521 East Ham Trimmick variances for accessory structure size and side setback. Is there a proponent of the proposed variance request before us? Come on up, be sworn in.
My name is Anthony Naylor. My address is 521 East Ham Tramwick Street. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under penalty of perjury.
So tell me what you're trying to do, Mr. Naylor.
So, we currently have a, I believe, 13 by 18 foot structure right there. This is where I work on my race cars in general.
And is the current structure attached to the house?
No, it's not.
Okay. Because I saw remove breezeway, or is that you were gonna put a breezeway?
We planned on putting a breezeway if it
Okay.
meant that we wouldn't have to have an appeal.
Uh-huh.
And then once we found that no matter what, we were gonna have to have one, we'd rather
Okay.
just not have one.
Okay.
So, right now, we have two structures right there. One is a temporary structure, it's 7.5 by 11, that just holds our yard equipment and stuff like that. And then we have a 13 by 18 structure that's been on there. And our plan is to pretty much go from the back left corner of that and tear both of those down, remove the temporary one and tear down the garage, and then build a 24 by 40. And it's just gonna be used to park her car, since we're expecting our first, so she can be in the garage, wouldn't have to shovel or anything like that. And then the other garage door area is gonna be so I can work on my car and then shop. That's pretty much it.
So, is it, Ms. Blankenhorn, is it just accessory structure size, or do we have other issues here?
The accessory structure size and then the side setback, he is requesting 3 feet instead of 5 feet.
Where
The
does-
rear setback.
Yeah.
Rear
so-
No,
setback
it's the
side.
side. It's the back of the garage, but it's the side property line.
Oh, I can't be, it's on a corner lot. I
Yes.
see what
Ah.
it's, okay.
So and on that, I just measured actually before we came here, I haven't had a chance to measure up until now.
Mhm.
It's actually 4 feet right now,
Okay.
is where the back corner where the current structure is, so it would actually be a 1 foot variance, as opposed
Well,
to 3
yeah,
foot that I
but-
put.
All right, current is 4 feet.
Hmm? Is there something else you want to see?
All right, are there, sorry, I was just doing math. Brain hurts now. All right,
I see
are there,
smoke.
what, yes. It's been a long day. All right, are there any other proponents of the proposed variance request before us? You want to push it now? I'm just kidding.
You already voted.
Haven't signed it yet, but.
My name is Ryan Holmes. My address is 208 Miller Avenue. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under the penalty of perjury. It's just kind of a coincidence that we happen to be here the same day. I've known him for a while. My father actually lives across the street from him. I know he's a good neighbor. My father had a heart attack, and he's helped out, making sure he can get in and out of the house, and doing yard work for him when he was unable to due to his medical conditions. And I've seen his property. He keeps it pretty tidy, and he keeps his stuff inside. And I'm confident it would increase the property value and increase the neighborhood.
All right, thank you. All right, any other proponents? Mr. Hillier. Now, where is it that you live again? I think it's
Not Sugar Street.
not Sugar Street. Okay.
I'm going home tonight and tell my wife we could talk, because I've been duly sworn in. I have Mike Hillier, my address is 215 East Sugar. I've heard that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, we're under penalty of perjury. One of these days I might memorize that.
I was gonna say you should.
Save
What's going on
everybody.
up there? I did drive by this property as well. There is a 6-foot high wooden fence behind that.
Who's that guy?
If it stays, I would assume that 4 feet setback is not that big a deal. If you want to ask if the fence is coming down, or if the fence stays up, I think that makes a big difference. Other than that, the only thing I heard, and I know it's not up to you, but I got the podium. When I heard him say work on his, I think I heard race car. I do know of one other garage we approved in the neighborhood, and it wasn't about a month after he had the garage up, we had a call for somebody working on the car in the middle of the night. So please caution when we do that.
The police will show up if that happens. Yes.
But the fence, like I said, if the fence stays up, I don't think the setback is a big deal.
He's going to have a small child, so he's not going to be able to work on things.
Now he'll probably spend more time in the garage.
I know. All right. Are there any other proponents of the proposed variance request?
Is the fence staying up?
He wants you to ask that.
Are there any opponents of the proposed variance request? Is there any written or verbal communication regarding the proposed variance request?
Just the staff report.
All right.
Dated August 1st, 2023, for case 2023 BZA 18, 521 East Hamtramck Street, parcel number 66-06321.000. Laura Leben and Anthony Naylor request variances for overall size of an accessory structure and side setback at 521 East Hamtramck Street. The request is for a 24 feet by 40 feet accessory structure to be located 3 feet from the west side property line. This 960 square feet proposed structure is 74.88% of the size of the primary dwelling. Code currently allows accessory structures to be up to 35% of the size of the primary structure, while also requiring at least one enclosed parking space. There is currently an 18 feet by 12 feet accessory structure and a 7.5 feet by 11 feet yard shed on the property. The proposed structure would be placed where these structures are currently located. The proposed structure would not exceed lot coverage maximum regulations. The following similarly sized accessory structures are located within a block of the subject property. A 24 feet by 48 feet at 510 East Burgess Street, a 24 feet by 30 feet at 513 East Hamtramck Street, a 24 feet by 32 feet at 515 East Hamtramck Street, a 20 feet by 40 feet at 516 East Burgess Street with a 22 feet by 32 feet attached carport.
All right, thank you. I do have two couple questions, Mr. Naylor, just real fast. Come on back up to the podium. I remind you that you're under oath. So, is it you can't bring it out because it'll block your door? Is that what the back door of the house? Is that why you're putting it back so far?
We wanted to keep it as far from the street as possible, just so
Okay.
it kind of looks more tucked back in. But it'll actually, if you look at it, our plan is the man door from the garage it's going to line up straight with our main entry door, which is actually on the right side of the house.
Okay, well that's what I
By
was.
the driveway.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I think that's and just confirming that the two other small accessory structures are coming down.
Yep, both
Okay.
are gone.
All right, thank you. That's my questions. All right, yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve as presented.
All right, and we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We We have a motion and a second from Ms. Boucher. Any additional discussion regarding the proposed variance request? Ms. Blankenhorn.
Ms. Boucher?
Yes.
Ms. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Percy?
Yes.
Mrs. Simpson?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
All right, with that, 2023-BZA 18 is approved as submitted. All right,
Last one.
2023, moving right on. We're making good
You'll
time.
need to follow up to actually get the zoning permit before you start
Okay.
construction. So
Okay.
I'll get all that programmed into the system and then get you your fees.
Okay, I'll probably call you tomorrow, 'cause there's something going
I probably won't be in tomorrow because I'll have to type all these minutes. Thanks.
All right. 2023 BZA-19, 1107 North Mulberry Street, variance for fence height. Is there a proponent of the proposed variance request before us? Please be sworn in. It's the card right there on the green card.
Yeah, the green one, yeah.
My name is Linda Wilson. My address is 1107 North Mulberry Street. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under penalty of perjury.
What are we trying to achieve, Mrs. Wilson?
Well, I've been trying to achieve a little backyard sanctuary for my retirement next year, not sooner, and trying to fix things up. And wanted to get rid of the old fence that my dad probably put up 40, 50 years ago. It was all rotted. And I wanted to put a new fence down the property. The house next to me has been empty for about 6 years. It was a rental. And Pat Duran owns it. He lives in Westerville. The last renters trashed it so bad he's not been able to rent it. Now he's trying to fix it up to sell it. And so I was talking to him, and so I called somebody to put up a fence, and I asked him about what's the permit. He said he'd take care of all that. I said, okay. Well, it comes out he didn't really take care of it, and he put the fence up. Well, then I found out, why to put it that high. The one section I made higher because on the back of the old house, it was built around 1900. It used to be it's a farm, it was an old farmhouse. I remember the couple, there used to be a bank barn next to it. There was a big old mulberry bush behind where we used to play in it. And I know the history of the place. But someone at some point, well, it must have been Pat, had added on a little section on the back, and it's all rotted. You can see light through the boards and stuff. And I'm like, I'm having to look at this rotted crap here. Sorry, and then he had tore down some sheds, and it's just, the whole place was an eyesore, and I wanted to block that, because I like to sit out there and look at the birds and the butterflies and the little sanctuary. So I was talking to Pat about it, and he liked the fence, because when he sells it, it's gonna give privacy to his property, and he said he's tearing down, and I'm thinking of myself in the backyard looking at that little rotted section. Since he's gonna tear that down and build a deck back there, and I thought, well, somebody builds a deck back there, and if we have parties on that deck, they're gonna be able to look right down at me sitting in my backyard, and I'll have no privacy. Plus, the fence will give them privacy as well, so I think it's a bonus whoever buys the house, because they're gonna have built-in privacy now in their backyard. And Pat was fine with it. I was hoping he'd come, but he lives in Westerville, so he probably couldn't make it. But I'd like to, there's just, the 2 8-foot sections were taller to block out that house and the oncoming deck that's gonna be back there where they can.
Well, he needs both a demolition permit as well as a zoning permit before he can do any work.
I think he's gonna get permits. He's not near that, but he's still trying to fix the up. He can't really work in there because the cat smells so bad. And he's just trying to work on the inside right now. This is probably like a year or two down the road.
So just to clarify, you have 16 feet of fencing that is already built,
Yeah.
that was built without a permit, that's 10 feet tall, is that
And
correct?
When I talked to the contractor, I said, hey, you said you took care of the permit. Oh, okay, I'll go take care of it. And then he came down and he did the permit stuff.
He also filed a materially false document that we're currently referring for prosecution.
You can't tell me because it's a legal thing. Oh my gosh, I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I don't know him. I just was looking for someone to put up a fence. I don't know anything about him. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Am I gonna be implemented in that too?
I can't discuss that.
All right. So the request is for a 10-foot high fence for 16 feet that has already been built.
Just
Are-
one section, the rest of it's the 6 feet.
And has the rest of it been
Built.
approved? Or-
Well, it was all on the same permit, so
Okay.
it got denied.
Okay, all right. All right. Okay, are there any other proponents of the proposed variance request before?
Me. My name is Michael Brown. My address is 1105 North Mulberry Street. I affirm that my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God, or under penalty of perjury. I live right next door to her. We probably have, in our little section of the neighborhood, the two most valuable properties in that section. And when I first moved in, her house was lived in by other people, and it wasn't very taken care of. She's probably put, I mean, I have no inside knowledge, but I'm guessing she's put $20,000 or $30,000 into this property. She has to have. I don't have any problem with this fence. It makes it's good for the neighborhood. Mount Vernon's recently done the easement project in that area of Mount Vernon, which I think is great. They're doing a tree thing, or they did just recently. So as her next door neighbor and property owner, I think everything she's done over there has done nothing but add value.
Thank you.
And I was not aware of contractors and permits and all that stuff, and I don't think she was either.
All right. Mr. Hillier?
My official name of birth was Michael Paul Hillier.
Thank you. That adds a lot, actually.
11 pounds, 1 ounce. My address is 215 East Sugar. I affirm my testimony is truthful to the best of my knowledge and ability, to help me God, or under penalty of perjury.
Wait, I want to make sure she got the weight in the...
It's on record. Slightly less than I am now.
I round up to 12 pounds.
We'll keep rounding. All right. I drove this property. If you drive down Mulberry Street, I had to look for the fence. You know, one of the things I looked at, as I look at, is what the neighbors see, what the people see driving down the road. What I did see is, like she said, an eyesore next to her. We may have a fence issue here, and I do believe her when she says that this guy probably did it wrong. I hate to, you know, I look. We had a fence on East High Street that was 8 feet tall, and we put dirt at the bottom trying to make it 6 feet tall. I think we have a much different case here, because on that one you can see driving down the alley, and you can see from the neighbors all around it. If you drive, keep heading south on Mulberry, turn at the first street, I'm not going to name it because I'm not sure what it is, you have to really look to see a small section of that fence. It can't be seen from behind. Where she sits compared to her neighbor, she's correct. It does block people from the other area. Knowing this fence is high, like the gentleman said before me, this is some of the probably, there's a lot of bad properties on Mulberry Street, and this is an improvement. And that's what I look for. I would ask this, being what Mr. Broren said earlier about a court case possibility, I'd like to see you approve this. If you don't, I'd like to see you give it time until see what plays out with the court case. Maybe not as well if she has to do an adjustment, that this can be seen in the court.
Court case will have absolutely nothing to do with the fence height. It has everything to do with documents submitted by the contractor.
That's fine. You understand what I'm trying to ask for. I think we had somebody trying to do the right thing, and it's probably read the long way, but it does improve her property. Like I said, if you drove down the street, you had to stop and look like I did to even see it from the street. Thank you.
All right. Any other? I know there's nobody else in the room, but I gotta ask. Any opponents of the proposed variance request before us? Ms. Blankenhorn, any written or verbal communication regarding the proposed variance request?
Just the staff report.
All right.
August 1st, 2023, case 2023 BZA 19, 1107 North Mulberry Street, parcel number 66-06369.000. Linda Wilson requests a variance for fence height to allow for a 10 feet high fence, 16 feet long near her north side property line. The fence was built without a permit by Kenyon Building Company. The fence connects to the back corner of the garage on the property and extends into the backyard 16 feet, where it continues as a new 6 feet high fence. When the fence was constructed, the property maintenance enforcement officer mailed a violation notice to Ms. Wilson. The contractor then applied for a zoning permit stating the fence height was 6 feet. The application was denied as the fence height was known to be higher than 6 feet. The property owner then applied for a variance through the Board of Zoning Appeals. There is no record of variances being approved for fences taller than 6 feet.
All right, thank you, Ms. Blankenhorn. All right, we have all the I would entertain a motion regarding the proposed variance request.
I move.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Boucher seconded it,
What is the motion?
to approve as
Okay.
presented.
Sorry.
No, I just want to make sure that Lacey has the record correct.
Okay.
Any additional discussion regarding the proposed variance request? Ms. Blankenhorn, call the roll.
Ms. Boucher,
Yes.
Ms. Cunningham,
Yes.
Mr. Percy,
No.
Mrs. Simpson,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
We have a 4-1 approval.
All right, with that, the case is approved as submitted. Is there any addition, please say there isn't, but is there any additional business before us?
I don't have anything at this time.
All right, thank you, Ms. Blankenhorn. I would entertain a motion to dismiss.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, we are out of here. All right, thank you.
Second. She already had her shades on. She was ready.
I wear my sunglasses at night.
Because I wear my
Sunglasses at night.
That wasn't lost on me.
Well, let me talk with Rick how we'll do it. Thank you all.
Bye, have a good night. Bye, Linda.